What's up, YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, I'm just doing a recap of the bowl games. And what can I say? It was a lot of good football games being played, and a lot of fun. That's why I love this sport. You never know what's going to happen in this sport. And I'm gonna start off at the most recent game. Last night's games. Ohio State versus Georgia. That was a classic, guys. Game was played all the way down to the wire. Um, Georgia won the game 42-41. This was a matchup where a lot of people was thinking that Georgia was just going to go out there and dominate. But Ohio State came in there and they earned their spot in this playoff, guys. It was granted a playoff berth when USC lost their matchup against Utah, and Ohio State played their hearts out, guys. I have nothing but respect for both of those teams, but Ohio State, man, they played their hearts out. Gut-wrenching loss, man. Came down to the field goal at the end, and their kicker wasn't able to come through. But I think the key play of the game is when Kirby Smart, called that timeout right before Ohio State was going to do that fake punt. Yeah, I think it was 4th and 1, and Kirby Smart got that timeout right in time. I believe if Ohio State had converted that, I think we'd be in a different situation right now. I think Ohio State would have won that game. Simply because I think at that point Ohio State had 11-point lead, if I'm not mistaken, at that point. And Ohio State, for the most part, Georgia could not stop them offensively. Uh, Georgia made some key stops, don't get me wrong, but Ohio State was able to pass the ball at will. Marvin Harrison had a phenomenal game. Georgia didn't have an answer for Marvin Harrison. I mean, Junior, he's just a great player. And when he was in the game, it definitely was a difference maker at the position. Of course, in Buka, he played a very good game as well. Hats off to C.J. Stroud, though, man. Ohio State, struggled this season, when great defenses were putting pressure on him, but he played the game of his life in this matchup. He doesn't have to hold his head down for anything. He did a phenomenal job, and he put them in the position to win the game. It just unfortunately they couldn't come through at the end. But like I said, the play of the game was that fake, Kirby Smart, calling that timeout, and we're probably looking at a different situation. But great game, Stetson Bennett. I mean, this guy continues to prove doubters wrong. I mean, he had a great game as well, and Georgia, man, they just tough all the way around, man. Like they're dogs on O line and D line, like they're tough in the trenches, and then of course, they just had that mentality that they won't be denied, and definitely gonna be fun watching this matchup against them in TCU. And speaking of TCU in Michigan, that was a game as well. I mean, TCU was able to pull it out 51-45, high scoring matchup. Michigan was behind at first. TCU looked like they was going to run away with it, but Michigan fought all the way back and had a chance at the end, and they just couldn't convert. And great matchup. A lot of good football been played, man. Max Duggan definitely going to be a problem. Georgia's going to definitely have to fix their problems on the back end because TCU got a great offense as well. And TCU's defense is kind of stingy as well, man. They picked off J.J. McCarthy a couple of times, and uh, Georgia's gonna have to be careful. This is gonna be a good matchup. Nobody expected TCU. I'm being honest. A lot of people was picking Michigan to win this game, but TCU pulled it out, man. And they've been doubted all season. Had a lot of close matchups, but they always find a way to win, and that's gonna be interesting in this matchup between Georgia. You got a very identical type offense. TCU is high scoring as well. And like I said, their defense is kind of stingy as well. They're pretty good at stopping. You know, well, let me look at the stats real quick, guys. I don't want to just blurt things out. Let me see how many rushing yards Michigan was able to get. Yeah, Donovan Edwards had a good day on the ground, so TCU's defense is going to have to be able to slow down Georgia's offense. I mean, we all saw Kenny McIntosh, what he was able to do. The other running backs that Georgia has. it's going to be interesting, guys. Georgia has a great running game, and yeah, Dejon Edwards and Kendall Milton and Kenny McIntosh. Though TCU is going to have their hands full, but it's going to be fireworks when that matchup happens, guys. And I can't wait to see that matchup. I'm definitely going to do a video on that and give my prediction. But a lot of good football was played. I'm going to move on to another game. Of course, my Alabama Crimson Tide beat Kansas State. I thought that was going to be a game. Kansas State is a good team. Doggone Deuce Vaughn, man. I mean, that guy's a player, man. He was running through our guys at first, but eventually Alabama was able to pull out, and open up the offense. We struggled, for the first half or so. But right at the end of the first half, we scored a touchdown, and we brought that momentum into the second half, and Alabama just took off from there. Deuce Vaughn, he was able to he had a good day. He had 133 yards and a touchdown, so Alabama kind of struggled to slow him down. Kent State was able to get 191 yards total, but Alabama held them to 20, and it's good for my Alabama Crimson Tide going into next season. Of course, we're going to be missing Bryce Young and Will Anderson, but we have a lot of young talent that's on this team that got some experience and got some playing time, and we just signed the #1 recruiting class. So Alabama going forward, we're going to have to get some key, in my opinion, some key hires or do some different, changes with the team, to get the team more physical and stuff like that. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting for us in the off season. But we got to get the right coaching in. We can have all the talent in the world, but if we don't have the right coaching and the coaches develop the players that we have, it's not going to make a difference. So, but I'm happy for my Alabama Crimson Tide beating them 45-20. Huge win for us. Alabama has, struggled in the Sugar Bowl, when Nick Saban first got there, but Alabama definitely stepped up and showed that they're one of the best teams in the country. So I'm happy with my Tide. Iowa versus Kentucky. Iowa beat them 21-0. Kentucky, the team that I thought was pretty good. I know Will Levis didn't play, but they had Destin Wade in there. He only passed for 98 yards. Yeah, Kentucky is just a different team right now. As I can see, there's a lot of players not here that was normally on the team early on in the season, especially at running back. Chris Rodriguez didn't play, so I'm not sure if he opted out or anything like that. But basically, almost a brand new Kentucky team, and they went against an Iowa team that has struggled offensively all season. But Iowa has a really good defense, and to hold Kentucky to 0 points, that was a feat in itself. So Iowa got the victory. Who else played? Yeah. Florida lost to Oregon State 30-3. Like I said, Florida State team that's, had high expectations this season, but still has some work to do, both offensively and defensively. And Billy Napier is going to have to turn it around at Florida. Like I said, Oregon State team, wasn't really high on everybody's radar, but finished the season 10-3. So it's going to be interesting going forward in the Pac-12 with data, do in their conference. They still have to go against their rival Oregon, who's did a pretty good, had a pretty good season, with Bo Nix at the helm, and it's gonna be interesting to see what Oregon State does going forward. Louisville beat Cincinnati 24-7. I kind of expected that. Cincinnati just lost their head coach, Luke Fickell. He's now Wisconsin's new head coach, so it's going to be interesting to see what Cincinnati does going forward. Cincinnati's finna join, if I'm not mistaken, the Big 12. So they're going to be part of the Big 12. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do over there in that conference against Power 5, schools and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. Who else played? I know, Wake Forest beat Missouri. Like I said, Missouri team, that's kind of scrappy, but Wake Forest is known for their offense, and they was able to beat Missouri in that matchup. Who else played? Like I said, Wisconsin beat Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, not a bad team. Wisconsin struggled all season, but I was able to pull off this victory. Wisconsin is normally one of the teams that's being mentioned in the Big Ten West, and had a down season, but I was able to get the victory against Oklahoma State, so that was good to see. Oregon beat North Carolina 28-27, close matchup, but Bo Nix, they continue to win games. Team got 3 losses. Like I said, had a pretty good season. Beat a North Carolina team that has 5 losses. North Carolina, Max Brown still has some things he have to work out over there in North Carolina, but Oregon is a team on the rise with Dan Lanning. Had a great recruiting class, and it's going to be interesting to see what Oregon does in the next couple of seasons. UCF lost to Duke. Gus Malzahn lost to not pretty good Duke team. Duke is on the, Duke had a pretty good season. I mean, they went 9-4, so not too bad, but you hate to see that. If you UCF, John Reese Plumlee had 182 yards passing. Isaiah Bowers had 2 touchdowns. So, that was kind of an interesting game, but Duke was able to pull that out. Arkansas versus Kansas. I did not see this coming. Kansas played Arkansas really, really well, guys, but Arkansas won the game 55-53. Went into 3 overtimes. That was a thriller, guys. A high-scoring game. But Arkansas continues to put out, great offensive numbers, man. Kendall Browse is a guy that I think Alabama, I said in my video, should look at. This guy is a great offensive mind. And Arkansas, putting up 55 points. Both these teams could have won this game, putting up that many points. But Arkansas with KJ Jefferson, boy, that offense just was lethal all season. And he passed for 287 yards with 2 touchdowns. He had 130 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. I mean, and then Dubinion, he had 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like I said, this Arkansas team, man, like offensively is one of the best in the SEC and best in the country. And definitely a guy I think Alabama needs to look at, man. Kendall Brown is really, really good. He's doing a phenomenal job for Arkansas. Texas Tech beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss just took several losses, man. Team that I thought was going to finish higher than they did. They lost to LSU, then they lost to us. And just crazy. Thinking that Ole Miss only put up 25 points against Texas Tech. I would expect that game to be a little bit closer, but Texas Tech is a team that's sneaky, sneaky good, man. They air it out, and Ole Miss just wasn't able to capitalize, and Texas Tech held them scoreless in the second quarter. So, I mean, that's interesting, to see that stat. But Lane Kiffin's still one of the best offensive minds in the country, and definitely going to have to get some more guys in there with experience. Like I said, I think they had the 3rd best running game in the country. So Ole Miss is definitely a team that going to be interesting to see what they do going forward. In the SEC. SEC West is loaded with good teams and good coaches, man. So Lane Kiffin's still a good offensive mind. So, but they took the loss to Texas Tech, 42-25. Texas lost to Washington, 27-20. Washington just got rid of their offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, and but they were still able to pull out this victory against Texas. Like I said, for the most part, it was a low-scoring game, but good win for Washington. A Washington team that finished ranked, 12th team in the country. Texas might fall out the top 25. I'm not sure, but Texas played teams pretty tough this season, but they finished the season with 8-5, and gonna be interesting to see what Steve Sarkisian does, man. We all know Texas and Oklahoma finna get ready to come to the SEC. The SEC is already wide open, but adding those 2 teams to the conference, boy, it's gonna get really, really wild for the SEC. And speaking of Oklahoma, they lost to Florida State in a close matchup, man. If I remember right, Oklahoma kind of sealed their deal, at the end of the game. They got some penalties. I think they got a false start, then they got a holding penalty, and then Florida State was able to get pressure on the edge, and they sacked, Dylan Gabriel, and lost the game. But they was in prime position to win that game, set up for a field goal to tie the game up. But Florida State beat them 35-32. What can I say about Jordan Travis? This guy is a beast of a player, and I saw somewhere somebody coming on my page saying that he's coming back. So Florida State gonna be a team to look out for in 2023, man. They can definitely make a run in the ACC. Considering Clemson, took their loss, against Tennessee. Florida State might represent I believe they're in the Atlantic. Yeah, they're on the Atlantic, division. So Florida State might win the Atlantic next year. I'm gonna definitely be watching Florida State and following them and see what they do. But Florida State's receivers, man, just tall, man, just big, wide receivers, man. It just Oklahoma had a tough time, trying to cover those guys, and they're very, very athletic. But Oklahoma showed out as well, man. Both these, I'm gonna closely watch both Oklahoma and Florida State going forward, man. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with those two teams. Like I said, Brent Venables' first year as the head coach, and Mike Norvell, I think, is on his third year. He's turned that program around, and if Brent Venables can get that defense fixed, Oklahoma's going to be a problem. I keep telling everybody that they're going to be a problem. Minnesota beat Syracuse 28-20. I didn't get to watch that game, so I'm not really going to comment too much about that. Tennessee versus Clemson. Tennessee, huge victory against Clemson, man. Josh Heupel in that offense, man. Joe Milton. Joe Milton could be a problem this year, guys, in SEC. I mean, this guy, was able to come in after Hendon Hooker got injured and still be able to put up points for Tennessee, man. It just shows you the system that Tennessee has under Josh Heupel. And Tennessee's going to be scary good as well, man. I mean, the SEC is going to be wide open, man. Oklahoma coming, Texas coming. Tennessee got Josh Heupel. I mean, the SEC is going to be wild, man. And when they join the conference, boy, it's going to be interesting with Oklahoma and Texas in the mix. But Tennessee starting to get better, man. It's been a drought for them, but they're getting better, man. And now we have NIL, it's evening things up. And like I said, you can, even before the NIL, you can lose any week in the SEC, but it's going to get wild, man. So I can't wait to see what Tennessee does going forward. Clemson, on the other hand, got some things they got to work on. Dabo, I think he's recently tried, going to the transfer portal to get guys. He normally didn't use the portal, but I think he sees that Clemson needs to get better, and they better get better quick because, like I said, Florida State is looking like they're on the rise, and Clemson still recruiting at a high level, but I think they have to get the right coaching in there, get some guys in there that can gel and build off the talent that they have. In my opinion, losing Brent Venables starting to show, for Clemson's defense. They're going to definitely have to get, I think they hired within. I can't think of his name right now, but definitely going to have to get that defense back to playing like how they used to and give the offense a chance to gel. But Clemson still one of the best teams. They just, scrubbed the last couple of seasons. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward. Pitt beat UCLA 37-35. Good win for Pittsburgh. UCLA was ranked. Pitt probably going to end up being ranked in the top 25 when the next ratings come up. So this is a team that played against Tennessee early on in the season. Tennessee just had a good season, guys. They beat Pitt. They beat LSU. They beat Alabama. They beat Clemson. I mean, Tennessee just did a phenomenal job this season. And Pitt, definitely going to be, in my opinion, going to be ranked, next rankings come up. UCLA had a good game, good season as well, came down to them playing against USC and was able, they played them pretty good, but they lost. And going to be interesting to see what UCLA does, going forward. Notre Dame versus South Carolina. That was a good game. I picked South Carolina to win that game, but Notre Dame fought back, man, and got the victory. can't help but feel happy for Marcus Freeman, man. Became the new head coach, and he's a great defensive-minded guy, guys. Definitely a guy I would have liked Alabama to pursue, but of course, him having a head coaching job, as better job, just being a coordinator. But uh, he definitely has a. I'm not sure where they ranked in the recruiting class wise, but Notre Dame, they recruited pretty well just as well as anybody. So gonna be interesting to see what they do going forward. South Carolina, man, even though they took that loss to Notre Dame, South Carolina shot some teams this year. I said in the off season when I did the video that South Carolina was going to be a team to look out for, and they definitely shot some teams this year, and beating Clemson the way they did, beating Tennessee. Like I said, as good as Tennessee was, South Carolina beat Tennessee, man. So that's why I said, that's why I love this game. You never know uh, what's going to happen in these games, and South Carolina doesn't have to keep their head down, man. Shane Beamer doing a good job, man, and they're playing Beamer ball over there. And it was almost pull out the victory against Notre Dame, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with them. Maryland beat North Carolina State, 16-12, low scoring game, but Maryland was able to pull it off with Mike Locksley, and I think they played in the Duke's Mayo Bowl and they poured mayo all over his head. So, but good win for Maryland, and that's pretty much it, guys. That's my recap of the games, of how I felt about them and what I thought. But if you haven't, guys, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely be back with more college football content. Thanks, guys, and roll tide.